Hello everybody and welcome back. This time chapter 2 where we build on the competitive strategy that we talked about in week 1. So chapter 2 is going to present an overview of the senior leadership tasks that go into developing and executing your corporate strategy. And we're going to pay attention first to creating a clear vision for the company and then tie it to the strategic and financial objectives that are going to guide that approach. And we're going to explore along the way the role of operating excellence in developing and executing that strategy. Now, the next slide is about the learning objectives. You can find that online on our website or pause and review those. Now, the senior leadership or management, as I'll just refer to it, the managerial process of crafting and executing this strategy, it's going to be ongoing. It's not a once and done thing. And so it's a continuous process, and it consists of these 5 stages that keep revolving. And those 5 stages then are interrelated as they evolve. So we developed a high-level strategic vision, set objectives, create that strategy that goes with it and aligns it up and down the chain, and then implements that strategy, executes it, collects metrics, and then number 5, evaluates those metrics, looks for gaps in the world, in your own strategy. What are the results that you are getting? So a company's strategic plan, according to the book, and I find it very accurate, is laid out. It lays out the future direction, the performance targets that I just mentioned in that gap analysis to make sure that you're on track, or you will have to reevaluate your strategy and your objectives and maybe your vision. And so this figure, it shows the 5-stage process that I just mentioned. And we'll look at it in some detail, but just note that the first 3 stages involve the actual strategic plan and creating it. So the strategic plan is going to map out where you're going, right, and establish those strategic and financial targets and outline the competitive moves and approaches that will be used to achieve the desired results. So management's decisions then are going to be made in this strategic management process. And they're shaped by not just the internal conditions, which there's some questions on the right side of the slide, but the external environment has an impact on where we're going, right? It doesn't do you any good to create a strategy that you either don't have the skill set for internally, or externally, maybe the market is going into a recession, right? And it's not a good time now to expand. So you want to consider those things in that process. So here's a table from the chart, and it's really a critique of the strategic visions of several prominent companies. So for these companies, ask yourself, is it the most difficult thing to create a vision statement, right? How does the scope of your business affect the language of the vision, right? These things are all tied together. Consider Whole Foods, for example, which was bought by Amazon. How would you reword the Whole Foods mission statement to reduce it to less than 100 words, right? Currently it's 154 words. Shouldn't be over 100, right? So please pause and review that. It's got a lot of, and the effective elements and the shortcomings are laid out. Please make note of those as you review it. So when a company then reaches a strategic inflection point, right, it's thinking about it, management has tough decisions to make about the company's direction. If you abandon an established course, you carry risk with that, right? So responding to unfolding changes, though, on the other hand, if you don't do that in a timely way, it reduces the company's chances of getting into the market. But if you respond too quickly, right, you could become trapped in a stagnant or declining business. I mean, it could go both ways. So working the vision and strategy and objectives that go with it, very challenging and continuous process, as I mentioned. So the first three stages of the strategic management process, as I mentioned, make up that strategic plan. And that plan is going to map out where the company is headed, right? It's going to establish your strategic and financial targets, as I mentioned, and it's going to outline your competitive motives and approaches, many of which we talked about last week in week 1 in the competitive advantage. So a strategic vision is going to describe that top management aspiration for the company. Where's it going? What's its future? And what's the course that's going to chart them in a path to achieve it? So a clearly articulated vision is going to tell management what are management's aspirations, company senior leadership aspirations to the stakeholders, which include the customers, include the employees, include stockholders, include suppliers, right? They're counting on each other, right? And so this is going to help steer the energy of the company in a common direction. Now, a well-conceived vision is distinctive, and it's specific to a particular organization. So as a valuable tool, you use it to convey what the top executives want the business to look like, and to provide you with, at the organizational level, a level below the executive layer, with a reference point in making decisions and preparing the company for that future path, right? So this is a core concept. A strategic vision describes where we are going, the course and direction that's charted for the company's future, that impacts product, customer, market, technology focuses, that sort of thing. Now here's a table that lists some of the characteristics you'd want to consider in an effective vision statement. And you want to say something definitive about the company's leaders, that the company's leaders intend to position the company beyond where it is today. So it would be graphic or directional or focused or flexible, etc. Pause the slide and review it, or read it in your book. So the next table provides a list of some of the most common shortcomings in a lot of company vision statements. So like any tool, the vision statements can be used properly or improperly. And so you want to work to clearly convey the company's strategic course, not confuse people or think that the executives have wasted their time. So strategic vision has little value to the organization unless it's effective. It has to be effective itself, and then it has to be communicated downline to the lower levels so that we can create alignment throughout the organization. So it'd be difficult for a vision statement to provide direction to decision makers and energize employees toward achieving long-term goals unless they know the vision and observe and see management's commitment to the vision itself. Now, creating a short slogan to illuminate the organization's direction and then using it repeatedly as a reminder of where we are headed and why. That really helps rally an organization and all the members, right, to hurdle over the obstacles that are going to lie ahead of you and create that path so that the company can maintain its focus and achieve its objectives, okay? These are some examples. Now, an effectively communicated vision is valuable, right? It's a valuable tool, and it's going to help you enlist the commitment of the entire company to engage in this process, partly because you're all aligned and working then as a team. So a well thought out and forcefully communicated vision, strategic vision, it's going to pay off in a lot of ways, right? So when management is able to demonstrate significant progress in achieving these 5 benefits that you see on the slide, it can count its efforts to create an effective vision for the company as successful. Okay, so strategic vision versus the mission statement. So the distinction between the strategic vision and the mission statement is fairly clear cut. You see on the left versus the right. A strategic vision, like on the left, it portrays a company's future scope. Where are we going, right? That's the great thing. But a company mission statement on the right, it typically describes the present business and purpose, who we are, what we do, and why we are here in our role. So we want to, after the vision, we want to develop this company mission statement, right? So the mission statement really, ideally, it's going to point out the company's products and services. It's going to specify the buyer needs that it seeks to satisfy, the customer groups or markets that it serves, and its customer approach, and it's going to give the company an identity. So the next slide shows the core concept, which is just all about the mission statement. You can pause and read it for yourself. Worthwhile. So and here's an example of a good mission statement. This is St. Jude's Children's Hospital, which many of us have heard of. It's a great nonprofit that accepts no payment from anybody. They don't care who you are. If they take your case, you are going to get cared for. And it's a great approach. Okay, so that was a good example. Now, the strategic vision and mission is tied to profit. So firms should focus properly on achieving financial and strategic objectives together that result in profit, right? And which is going to be important to ensuring future progress. We'll talk about profit more here in a little bit. So there's a link between the strategic vision and mission and the company's values. Now, also, a company's values are its beliefs, its traits, and the behavioral norms that the firm and their personnel expect to be on display, right, when you're doing business for the company, and which is really driving towards the strategic vision and mission. So many companies have developed a statement of values. Some call them core values, right? In the Air Force, when I was on active duty, the core values were integrity, they still are, integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all you do. Those have guided me my whole life and still do, even though I'm no longer part of it. And so those values are going to guide our actions and behaviors of personnel when they're doing company business in pursuit of that strategic vision. So this is the core concept of the values that I want you to take away. Okay? And this slide here is now about setting the objectives. So we transition there. So concrete and measurable objectives are managerially valuable, meaning the senior leaders really value it for three reasons. One, they focus our efforts, and they align our actions through the organization in that focus. So that's one point. They also serve as a yardstick for tracking a company's performance and progress. You've got to measure. What you measure gets done. And they motivate employees to expend greater effort and perform at a higher level. So, and then you even want to create some stretch objectives. So stretch objectives set performance targets high enough that you, as an organization, you have to stretch to reach them. And they're trying to drive you to reach your full potential and to deliver the best possible results. Challenging company personnel, this challenges company personnel to go out and deliver these stretch gains in performance, and it pushes them in the enterprise to be more inventive, to exhibit more urgency, etc. They spur excellence. When I was in the Air Force, I would have objectives that were well beyond what I could achieve in the 2 years that I was in command. But what it did was it let us go after our objectives, and by the end I had a few things left over to turn over to the next team. So here is your core concept. You can pause the slide, review it, and I'll stop here, take a break for part 2.